Hey all, this is Monica, today's host of the Girl Power podcast, and I will be joined today by the radiant Takaho Mikami-san. I know Takaho-san from Johns Hopkins SAIS, where we both studied over the past year. She's now based in Tokyo, where she's worked for the past 8 years. She was at Johns Hopkins as a master's degree student for the 2019-2020 school year, sponsored through her work. When she was a child, Takaho-san lived in Arkansas due to her father's overseas posting and attended a local elementary school for 4 years. This experience spurred her interest in working and traveling globally. She loves traveling abroad, watching sports games, and jogging. Without further ado, let's meet Takaho-san.
I'm Isha from India.
I am Angel from the Philippines.
I am Tolex from Laos.
I'm Monica from the United States, and we are Girl Power.
Girl Power. Girl Power.
Girl Power.
Confident, compassionate,
and connected.
So, have you ever wondered how difficult it is to balance a family and work? How to deal with societal gender expectations? Ever thought about what life is like for women in Japan? Well, if you have, I have a podcast for you. My guest today is Takaho Mikami. We'll discuss her background, what gender expectations she's faced, how she views work-life balance, what inspires her to do the things she does, and the circumstances and people around her that have made her who she is today. This podcast is meant to empower women by sharing their stories and connect us all across international borders. So, Takaho-san, glad to have you on.
Oh, thank you for having me today, Monica.
It's so great to see you again.
It seems like we had the same class in
Yeah. No, you helped me out so much with all the notes for class, so I really appreciate it.
Message to you too, yes.
And so kind of what I want to talk to you today about is kind of about how you feel like gender and the workplace and family life is like in Japan. Because Japan, I think as of this year's Gender Gap 2020 report, Japan has slipped down another 10 places to be 121st in terms of kind of equality for women. And so it's kind of interesting to find out that Japan is a very forward-thinking country in many ways, but it seems like they're having troubles or problems with gender equality, but on the ground it can look very different from what it is in statistics. So I guess to start off, could you please briefly share with us your background and what expectations about marriage and work you grew up with?
Yes, if I may introduce about my background briefly, like I was born in Toyama, it's a countryside place, and I'm an only child in my family, and now I'm in Tokyo as single, and I'm here since like I enrolled in college, so in total I've been for like 10 years in Tokyo. Started working in 2015, and until now I got transferred to Hiroshima for 2 years, and also got an opportunity to study in SAIS at DC for a year, and now I'm back in Tokyo, and yes, there were some expectations about marriage and working, and so which story should I begin first? Maybe knowledge is kind of I think I have a unique story about that. It's kind of a personal, yet I think some ratio of women might have the similar situation of me, unique situation as an only child. So as an only child, I had this like expectation to carry on my family name, Mikami. So if I may explain a little bit about this Japanese marriage system. In our country, like married couples are legally obliged to use the same surname. So under this system, like as I am an only child, I grew up being taught from my family to find a future husband that will agree to change his surname to our family name. So in order to succeed my family lines. So I thought like, okay, I'm the only person who has the responsibility to take over my family. And if I don't do it, my family line will end. So yes, I'll do that. And actually, my mother, she has the same situation. She's the eldest daughter and has a younger sister who's an aunt for me. And she married with my father, and he was the third son of his original family. So because I've seen my closest family to have a similar situation, I didn't have any sense of resistance on that condition. But the reality,
So then, is your surname then from your mother's side of the family?
yes, that's true.
That's so cool. Is that so? Is that common? I know it's historically been a trend, but does it still have a lot of power in Japan today?
Yeah, so I think well, my family we're not like how can I say, a rich famous family, but
Mhm.
we're in this like conservative area. We have this kind of tradition, so we have the sense that we don't want to end our family line. So yeah, that kind of sense has been continued. So that's why some kind of expectations was given to me. Yeah, and and I thought when I was a child, I thought it wasn't that difficult to find my future husband. But the reality, I thought it wasn't that easy. This is because like in Japan, actually like 95% of married couple adopt the husband's surname. It's really high.
Yeah.
100%. And this is a fun fact, but since a long time ago, before the Edo period in 17th century, like, Japan had a custom that all married couples should adopt the husband's surname. So this kind of traditional custom is continued in Japan. So the eldest son succeed the family line and keep his family surname upon marriage. So with this traditional mindset against marriage, like I think for a woman like me, who is an only child or the eldest daughter in a family, it's a kind of a not easy situation to find someone who accepts changing his surname upon marriage. Yeah, and I
Have
heard.
you? Oh no, go ahead.
Oh no, yeah. So I've heard some cases that this kind of a single surname system prevents the couple from marrying. Yeah.
Well, I heard that it's easy enough to keep it separate, or like a woman can keep her own name professionally, but when you have children, if you don't register it correctly, it could lead to them being illegitimate or like quite not on the system or something.
Yes, yes. So yes, like I think that kind of problem might happen as well. Yes, and that's true. I've heard some like celebrities talking about that experience in the TV.
Mm.
That like woman changed her surname when she married with his husband, but after divorce, she herself changed back to her original family name. But as she has a son and a daughter, they remain to have her husband's surname and that kind of situation. But I don't know if that will be some kind of obstacle or something, but that kind of situation, it happens. And yeah, it's kind of a very unique situation in Japan, I think, because of this law system.
Yeah, for sure. And then, anyone that you ever dated, did you ever bring the idea up or face resistance, or did your friends think it was weird?
Oh yeah, so yeah, I talked about this with my friends and my boyfriend, ex-boyfriend. Like, so naturally, I kind of tend to find a man who is a second son or third son.
Yeah,
Except,
yeah,
so first I asked. So first, if I meet someone for the first time, I kind of ask their like family structure.
yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of a natural sense I have right now. And with my if I when I talk with my friends, well, she doesn't have the same conditions with me, and she doesn't have any sense of resistance to change her surname. Rather, like she feels like she'll finally get married, like if she
Mm.
her surname. So she thinks like, positively, and yeah. So for most of the women, it's kind of natural. Like it's kind of acceptable to change the surname. Yeah.
Interesting to learn about.
Yeah.
So then, kind of, you already grew up with those expectations that you have to find a man that like is willing to accept your surname.
Yeah.
Was there a time that your parents sat you down and said, "Hey, this is what you need to think about when you were a child," or did it just kind of is it something you gradually came to realize?
Yeah. Uh, well, naturally, my parents, my grandparents taught me since I was a child, like in a kind of a casual mode.
Mm, okay.
So yeah. Uh, and and now, like my parents kind of slightly starting to change their mind. Like if it's going to be if it's kind of a obstacle, like a hurdle for you to marriage, you don't have to be like limited with that kind of condition. You can change your surname. But because I've been like grew up talking like this for like 30 years or so, I
Yeah.
like change my. I kind of feel guilty like if I
Mm.
family line. So yeah, hopefully we can find some.
Is Mikami like a common family name?
Yes, yes, I heard that like in the northern and also the southern part of Japan, there's a lot of name with
Mm.
Mikami in it. Yes, so it's not a rare surname, I think. Yeah. Mhm.
That's super fascinating to kind of have that growing up with.
Yeah, so that's one of the episode of which I have on expectation. And I think it's
Mm.
really unique, especially in Japan, and also in I think it's not a majority of the voice, but in certain ratio, some woman has kind of a same situation. I think.
Yeah, it's definitely, I don't think it's common in many Western countries. So it's interesting to hear that that's the case. Although I know that, at least in the US, in say the past, I don't know, 50, 30 years or so, it's become more common for both people to use their surnames. But in the US, it's a lot more common for people to change their surnames if they want to.
Yeah, I think that kind of flexible system will be great. And yeah, in that sense, I kind of feel that I kind of hope that the government will eventually like adopt a law system that allows couples to have separate surnames. Like I
Mhm.
heard that there were like several court case or some like bills to request those kind of change, but now that the kind of discussion is not proceeding. So
Yeah.
maybe in the
No,
future.
I've heard that, I guess in 2019, there was a bill, I think, so that women could use their own family name professionally. But
Mhm.
well, that's a big jump from using it professionally to actually having it legally. So,
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
and so,
Yeah.
oh, yes.
Yeah. Talking about professionally, like some of my colleagues, who's a woman, after marriage, although they changed their surname, professionally they use their original surname. So yeah, that kind of flexibility is like accepted. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
And so, then kind of moving from your own family story,
Mhm.
what do you think that gender expectations for women as a whole in Japan have changed as you've grown up?
Oh yes, I think it largely changed, especially in the aspect of working. Like, um, yeah, like I, I've heard from my mother, like when she was in her 20s, what kind of expectations the other people had when she worked, and I was kind of surprised because it was really different from now. Now, woman has, I think has woman has lot more options, both for their marriage and for their work. But in the 1970s or 80s, I heard that um, most women, like I say, retire their work after their marriage or childbirth, and this is because like actually like companies like hired women who are like high school graduate or vocational school to work as a non-management post or as non-regular employment in those days, and it was rare for a woman graduating college to work as a management post. And this was so at that time, it was common for a woman to like retire after marriage and you say, to play as a role to manage their house. And actually, I searched the figures, and in the 1980s, among the overall married couples, the number of family with housewife doubled the number of double income family. So
Wow.
now the figure is totally opposite. The number of double income family is now doubling the number of family with housewives. So it's really a yeah. And I remember when I was a child, it was really common to see a woman working as a housewife, and yeah. So during these 30 years, I think there's a big change.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Very fascinating. So then, how would you? And obviously, this is kind of a generalization because there's a lot of people in Japan, a lot of different ideas of who they are. But how would you describe the expected role of a woman in a relationship today in Japan?
Mm, yeah, so I think there's expectation that women should both work and also manage their work, like doing their household, I
Yeah.
think. And but on the other hand, of course, there are a lot of husbands uh, um, that support uh, their partners to do the household and so on.
So, yeah, basically, kind of thinking about the expected role of a woman in, say, in a relationship, in a marriage, as a mother, and as an employee. Are these
Oh,
roles that it's easy to kind of hold up at the same time? Or does it almost feel like segregated or very separated into different aspects?
oh yes. So I think woman is generally is now expected to both do their job and also do their like household
Mhm.
after marriage. Um, because now I think the situation for women in like working has dramatically changed in this 30 years. Like for example, the mindset of women itself has changed. Like women now more and more women is willing to work in their working place, and so actually the yeah, for example, the figures has increased, and also balancing the working and life has been promoted in this 10 years, uh, like the administration has been promoting to um, like encourage the systems that will balance work with private life, like encourage not to do overtime work and so on. So now system is like established to encourage men to take a childcare leave after their wife's childbirth. So I think the expectations of women to balance work and their private life has been encouraged, and at the same time, um, the men's side is also encouraged to support the woman's that kind of new lifestyle. So yes, yeah, I think it has been changed in this 30 years.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like it. And then,
Yeah.
so you were saying that workforce rates have increased in Japan and that there's been campaigns both to stop overwork, which is a really big problem in Japan, and then to bring more women into the workforce and also get men engaged more with their family life. So
Mhm.
I think that these policies have been pretty effective.
Yes. Yeah, I think partially it's effective. Actually, well, this is a story of my working place, but um, when it, the working environment really improved in this 8 years since I started working in here. At that time, it was really natural to work overtime, like until 11 p.m. or 12 p.m. and so on. So it was kind of like I had this culture shock when I worked at the first day. But now, my boss is like every day he's saying out loud to our colleagues to you don't need to work long, or like he encourages us to take holidays like at least once a month, and also we're encouraged to take like more than 7 days of holidays in row once a year and so on. So I think it's really improving, and that is because of this policy change. I think there must be some kind of a order from the government to the companies or so on, I think. But on the other hand, I think not all of the companies are having the same situation because of maybe the economic situation or financial situation and so on. So, but yes, I think there are still a lot of challenges, and yeah, and other topics than the overwork situation. I think the improvement of the status of women in work has also a lot of challenges. The number itself is gradually improving. It's true that in my working place as well, more and more women are holding a upper positions compared to 10 years ago. But I think if we compare that figure with other countries, it's really extremely low. And as you mentioned in the beginning, the Abeman administration postponed the target date from 2020 to in the earliest time possible until 2030 to aim the 30% target for
Yeah,
women.
and I know that originally I think they were set for 2015, so that's like a 15-year push.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. Push the moving target.
Yeah, that's yeah, so I think we need a more time to improve that. But on the other hand, I'm not that kind of a I don't have this kind of pessimistic thinking of this situation. I think Japan is in this turning point to improving the women's situation in both work and marriage. So the reason for that is that because of the young generation's mindset is changing. Actually, I think the 20s, 30s, and also some of the 40s are um, are encouraging us to balance our private life and work. So I think if this continues, maybe like I don't know if it 10 years or 20 years, I don't know, but I hope it will get shorter. But in the future, some improvements will happen, I believe.
No, I'm so glad to hear that. It's really good to hear positivity, especially in like chaotic times.
Yes, that's true. Yes, and talking about that chaotic time,
Yeah,
this
of course.
yeah, the coronavirus. Yes, it's really a tragedy to have this situation. But
Mm.
we see the bright side. Japan is kind of notorious to have this really analog system, especially in working environment. We didn't we
Mhm.
have a system of telecommuting, but it I think it was really rare for employees, for companies to adopt that system. But because of this coronavirus situation, um, almost all of the companies are adopting the telecommuting, and even my working place, we're doing, especially now, I'm doing the telecommuting once in 2 days. So yes, it's really a revolution, and not only in my working place, but in the whole Japan society. And my friends, they're all females, and um, if I ask them they're having, in what kind of situation they're having, they say that they're doing telecommuting every day. Uh, yeah, and yeah, I thought it's really good because it will give a lot more chances for a woman to balance their private life with the working. So yeah,
Yeah, that's the hope, right?
oh, amazing. I'm really surprised.
Yeah. So then I guess actually that leads me to another point in that so it's a lot easier when you're telecommuting to kind of be flexible, but for childcare and a lot of women with children, it can be a lot harder. So I guess how do you think first, how easy do you think it is for women to both have children and to work in Japan today? And what role do you think that fathers do play and
Mhm.
should they play?
Oh, good question. Good. Oh, that's true. Um, First of all, to balance those two aspects, the support is essential, right? And um, but on the other hand, the husband is also busy. They have their work, but also the wife has a lot of house chores and also work to do. So ideally, the third person, like parents, grandparents, or other family members, or maybe neighboring communities, their support must be really a big thing for the double income families. And i- in rural region, um, so in that case, I think nursery or other childcare facilities are essential. But kind of a big problem in Tokyo that that number of nurseries lacking. I heard that at least 1 year or 2 years you have to wait for the vacancy. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think so. In some supports from family members and also supports from the government, especially the establishment of nursery systems, are essential. Yeah, so yeah, I think we need to support each other to how can I say, overcome as well as enjoy this new style of life.
Yeah, for sure. And then actually, that makes me kind of curious on a different question.
Mhm,
In Tokyo, there haven't been enough nurseries in a long time and childcare facilities just because the population is still growing. But in the countryside and the rest of the country, there's too many. Well, not too many nurseries, but it's easy for anyone to get in because there's not a lot of children. Um,
mhm.
and so I think that Japan has a really low fertility rate. But how do you see, I guess, both the low fertility rate and then maybe if you want to answer it, the difference between the countryside and then the city.
Oh, yes, yes. True. Oh,
Sorry, I know I'm throwing a lot at you.
I think it's really a good question, and I personally think that country it's really convenient to live in the countryside if we want to have more secure childcare.
Yeah.
And if I so yeah, in that sense, telecommuting will work well. We
Yeah.
don't have really busy city side, and yes, so yeah, that is a big difference. Yes, countryside and city side. So I really hope that the good part of the countryside will transfer to the to Tokyo and other city side as well. Yes, yes. So I heard that Tokyo is trying to increase the number. Like for example, um, so they only have this limited area, but they try to find the spaces like the the area under the like Trarier, which is like building above the street. So there's this area under this trail road. So they use it as a kindergarten or something like. So
Interesting. Yeah,
yes,
I feel like there's a lot of zoning laws that make it really difficult to build new kindergartens, especially.
yes, that's true. And the reason why they build the kindergartens in that zone is that it's kind of a sad thing, but it seems that, especially in the city side, there's some kind of
Mhm.
a complaints against sound noise
Uh,
close to gardens and so in order to have a win-win situation, areas in that kind of places are
mm,
encouraged to be built to be a candidate area for the for the
okay, so make noisy areas already noisier so they're not disturbed by their areas or something.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Kind of a fun fact thing, but
Yeah, no, it's super interesting to kind of learn about that because they're, I don't know, things you would not usually think about in terms
Mhm.
of, oh, where do we build a kindergarten?
Yeah. So Tokyo is and other city areas is like using their brains and to effectively use the zone the areas that is empty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, and then I guess, so following that up, um, do you think that, especially women, but also potentially men or like male friends you have, how
Mhm.
do they feel about having kids or like getting married? What's kind of the ideas around it?
Oh yes. Yeah. Oh. Well, it's really a great thing to every time I hear the the first report from my friends that they get married, like we're
Mm.
super happy, like, and 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 they the my friends and their partners are also living very positively and enjoying their new lives and um, especially I hear a lot of voices from the male side, my male friends that they like when they were in college, like when they were young, they were kind of a like how can I say wild characteristics. Like I at that time I couldn't imagine them being a father, but now they are being a child loving and really warm um, and really supportive to their wives and they're actively helping their wives and also I hear a lot of stories that they whenever their child have a fever or something in their kindergartens they take a child leave childcare leave and pick them up and care their sons and daughters so yeah I think um yeah they're although they might have some restrictions living in city sides like high expensive like kindergarten fee or something or others but I think they are doing their best and enjoying at the same time um, uh, carrying their children and their wives.
That's so good to hear. It's really good to just, I don't know, hear that.
Yeah.
And so then I guess for you, what does your ideal relationship or your ideal family look like?
Oh, thanks for asking that question. Yeah. So, yeah, my ideal for first marriage life is like, first I hope that I can find someone who will be Mikami, and yeah, I don't know if we will be working in the same working place or other position. I think uh, it'll be ideal if we mutually understand our working situation and also support with each other. And also my mother, she has been saying to me for like 10 years that if you're married, I'll be really happy to support you, like especially like doing childcare. Like if you have any,
Mhm.
like if you can't have time picking up your child or something, I'll do it. And and it's really supportive to hear her yeah proposals. And yes, so I think, and also I'm kind of interested in living abroad, so I hope that we can live abroad and doing our works as well. Yes, so I hope that will happen.
Oh, so I guess I have a short question and I have a longer question to follow that up. So
Yes.
short question, do you live near your parents?
Ah, no. Actually, my family is living about 2 hours long distance by bullet train. Yes. But we usually communicate by using video. What was it? Video call or something.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Line or something like that. So is it then common, do you think? Because I think that there is a lot of young people, especially living in big cities.
Mhm.
So do you think that that's changed the dynamic by not having kind of like your extended family around?
Ah, yes. That's true. So living apart from their parents. Oh, oh yeah. I heard some some stories from my friend that after she got her first daughter or son, she had some periods like 2 or 3 months to go back to their home country, hometown, and with their support from their parents, she took care of their children. So, and also I heard some stories that the opposite situation, like the grandparents come to their city side and support the childcare. So yeah, I think I heard some flexible raising styles from my friends. And yeah, I think my mother will do the same thing. she
Oh.
she says that, well, I want to live in Tokyo, so please call me.
So there's two reasons for it then.
Yeah. So, so yes, I think uh, yeah. But on the other hand, there might not all couples have the same situation. So I think they're figuring out how to handle it.
Sure, just like any family. Yeah, definitely. And then I guess something that you also mentioned is that you'd like to live abroad again. And I know you have lived abroad in the past.
Mhm.
How did the cultures and expectations for women differ in the other places you've been to? Was there anything that was really surprising for you?
Ah, yes. So I was in the US when I was a child from 5 to 9. And yes, I've seen a lot of mothers, my friends' mothers, working very actively at their companies, and after that, so I went last year. I went to Washington D.C. and saw a lot of female students who are willing to work in the government agencies and so on. So I was really impressed of their um, very active, uh, how can I say, very. They were very bright and yeah, friendly, and they were very positive in working. And also, during my work, I had the U.S. counterpart. For example, I met a person who holds a really high rank position in their company, and she's the top of that company. But she said that her husband actually retired his job to support her promotion. So she said some words that she expressed her appreciation to her husband, and I was very like moved to hear that story. And yeah, so um, in some I have this impression that in the U.S. It's very a lot of women is like doing a lot of really positive activities towards work, and I felt this woman empowerment powers.
Yeah.
Yes, and yeah, I think in Japan, my colleagues um, also are very positive in doing their works. So I think both countries are aiming the same directions, and maybe the progress might be different, but I think both countries are aiming the same directions towards women empowerment.
That's great to hear.
Sorry, it's kind of a difficult to like
Hmm.
compile this difference, but yeah, I think I sense this positive, yeah, sense from the two countries. So
Oh, wow. I'm so glad. It's so nice to hear someone who's so optimistic about the future. I love it.
thank you.
And then what else? So the next thing that I wanted to ask you is that so you see a lot of kind of gender equality kind of happening in both countries in the future, and that we're moving in positive directions. So do you think that modern feminist and gender equality movements are visible in Japan, like the Kutu, Matahara, and things like that? Or do you think that it's not really that visible?
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's true. Very interesting. Yes. First, like as a cultural difference
Mm,
between Japan and the US, I think Japan is like less. How can I say? We don't have much culture in speaking out. Like how can I say? Like doing with movements against opposing movements against something like. Well, there are certain movements, of course, politically, but when it comes to gender, I think it's kind of the voice is not that big than the U.S. But on the other hand, this like gender harassment or like sexual harassment things are in the society overall is those harassments are tangibly being opposed, like in the working place especially. um, I've seen a lot of posters uh, that has the same messages, and so in In years, yeah, I've seen a lot of improvements in the working place. Yeah, and so I think, how can I say, although we don't much say out loud this opposing movements towards gender harassment, like going out to the street and speak it out loud. We don't. I don't see much that kind of type of opposition movement, but I see how can I say silent movements against those harassment things, and I think it's improving. Yes, one of the examples of that silent movement is like every year, periodically, we receive this questionnaires from our working places that if we have any cases that we receive some harassments or so on, or there's also a lot of posters on the walls that um, says that if you have any problems, call here or something. And also, the media is also covering those topics more frequently than 10 years ago. And also, yes, talking about media, there are some cases that the woman speaks out their own harassment experience. And so, yes, with that sense, yes, I think that we can say that we can tangibly see the movements towards gender equality.
Yeah. And so, what else? What is a good other question? So then, I guess, do you feel, even though, as you said, it's not necessarily more open protesting, but kind of slow, significant change in terms of television, in workplaces, people expressing concerns as they come up, you feel able to openly discuss concerns you've had about gender equality with the people around you? Or is it not something that you really discuss?
Yes, I think in my working place I have this environment that is open to freely um, s- uh, speak out or consult my concerns on harassment. Um, as my working place is encouraging gender equality, our bosses are trying to make a really comfortable environment to consult. So yes, and also if there's something that I'm worried about or something that I'm got kind of angry about, I always tell my friends and some of my colleagues during lunch, and it's kind of a small talk, but having that kind of a close colleagues are also really supportive. So yes, I
Sure.
believe that kind of environment.
Yeah, that's great. It's good to hear. It's always nice to have someone to rant to. Do you think that in Japan, private
Mhm.
businesses are different? Or do you think that the difference in gender equality or how many women are working or working part time versus full time depends on the industry that you're in? Say a public industry versus a private industry. Do you think that there's a big gap, or do you think that all of them are changing kind of in the same ways?
Oh, yes, that's true. Yeah, public and private and regular and unregular employment. Yes, um, I I don't know if the woman employment ratio differs between public and private, but I
Mhm.
think it really differs between the do you call it regular employment and unregular employment? Non.
Yeah, I think that that's fine to use for this one. Otherwise, maybe yeah, full time or part time.
Yeah, full time and part time. Yes. Um, I heard that still nowadays uh the rather than full time, the part time jobs are filled with a lot of women.
Mhm.
And um, well, this may explain a positive side, like for example, women who retire their jobs after their marriage or childbirth, they have more chances to work in the part-time jobs, balancing their own personal lives, their family life. So I think that's a positive thing too. But on the other hand, there might be some episode or stories for women who are willing to work as a full-time, but with some kind of conditions or situation, they have to accept working only in the part-time jobs. So I think it might differs for the situation of the woman, but the figure says that the part-time jobs are uh, mainly covered by women. So yeah, I thought that's interesting, and yeah. The good question you reminded me.
Yeah, I'm just curious. There's a lot of things that I feel like, yeah, I don't know. But you think that the Japanese workforce is changing, and if so, in what ways?
the women who are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s are working in full-time jobs uh, more than 30 years ago. Yes, and I think those two are the big changes in the 30 years, and and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So then, what are the most troubling or discouraging things about Japanese society, either family or workplace today?
Yes. So I think although the situation is improving um, since compared to the 30 years ago, so more women is more engaged in working, and also more women are engaged in higher rank position. Um, it's widening the options of the work women's how they can work, but at the same time, maybe some kind of burden is increasing if there's no support from their partners or their families to balance their family life. So uh, I think there are a lot of partners who are supportive to their wives, but I also hear some episodes that husbands are expecting women to do their households, and fathers are less supportive to do the household chores. So so it's kind of a half and half thing, but um, some people are supportive, but some people are unconsciously not supportive. So I think the mindset uh, of the family members should improve so that they can have a really how can I say supportive family life. Yes.
And then, so on the flip side, what are the most encouraging things about Japanese society?
Yes, encourage side. Um, it's, I think it is, yes, the flip side is, although I mentioned that the change of mindset is necessary, but I think more and more people are supportive in empowering women in society. I think I looked up some kind of a government survey that says that most of the people, especially the 20, 30, 40, 50s, are supportive and women empowerment, and they're affirmative in having a lot more women in holding a higher position, and I believe this will benefit the Japanese society as a whole because it will give a lot more diversity in the decision making and so on. So I think as long as the people in Japan overall is aiming the same direction, I think there will be a positive change. And I think in that sense, Japan is in a turning point uh, in that goal. Although the goal might be long, but I think we're having a steady progress.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's wonderful to hear.
yeah, thanks.
So then, what is your advice for those young women trying to balance their work, life, and family?
Oh, okay. Well, um, it it might be too, how can I say, um, I'm single right now, so it's really kind of a, how can I say, 恐れ多い in Japanese. I don't know how to say in English, but it's too I don't have much experience in that field, um but I had this time, I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago, that when I got a job transfer to Hiroshima and I returned to Tokyo. So from Hiroshima to Tokyo, after that, I was in this busy position in Tokyo, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so stuck and I can't live by myself and stuff like. I had this negative cycle of things. So my mother, who was really worried and also who wanted to live in Tokyo, she moved to Tokyo for me, and she kind of supported me for like 1 year or so. And it was really encouraging because I was like working late at night, and after I go home I couldn't do anything. I was too tired. Like I even didn't like clean my face or so. But whenever I go home, I had someone who I can say I'm home, and there's this warm dishes, and it was really, yeah, I really appreciate that. And at the same time, I got a kind of, I had this image that if 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 I marry and if I had this same situation, it, I think I will not afford. I can't afford doing all the house works and so on. So um, having someone to support you at home is really big. And so so based on that kind of experience, I thought that if there's something that's stuck and really like something that you can't figure out, you can ask ask someone that you can rely on. It can be your, of course, your husband, maybe your children, or your parents, grandparents, or your neighbors, or your families, or someone um, who are in your working place or so on. So I think not carrying those problems within yourself, but but sharing your problems, like your something is really important. And yeah, because of my mother's support, I survived until now and had a really good experience after that in DC, and meeting you, Monica.
Oh,
Yeah, it really connects to the life right now. So yeah, like sharing your worries and problems with other people, I think that's kind of a essential thing to live in this 2020 world.
no,
Yeah.
more than ever. I think at the time when it's hard to connect with people, it's most important to try and reach out to the people around you. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So then, I guess, do you have any other kind of concluding ideas or
Mhm.
thoughts that you kind of want to add? Is there anything, yeah, else that you'd like to talk about?
Oh, yeah. So, well, lastly, I really appreciate your contacting me on this topic. It's this topic is really like connected with our daily life, and honestly, I didn't have like a time to like think deeply on this issue yet. It's really important, but it's too close to my life. I didn't kind of deeply think about it, but because of this interview, I had chance like um, looking up on the internet to see the current situation Japan has, which I don't know. So yeah, it was really I really appreciated it for this opportunity, and also, well, in short, I really thought that empowering women links to empowering your own country. So I hope Japan will have a steady step toward empowering women.
No, thank you so much for your time and taking time out, even in the middle of working and late at night, to speak with me,
Mhm.
kind of share your insights with so many other amazing people so across the world. So thank you so much. I'm really appreciative of it.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to talk with you virtually again.
It was good to see you too. So, okay, I think that wraps up the rest of the podcast. But I will contact you with any follow up things, and if there's anything else you'd like to add, I'm always happy to come back and include it. So, yeah, thank you so much, Takahon-san. Like, I really appreciate it. And yeah.